Hello again, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of People in the News in North Texas. My guest today is Angela Brewer, Democrat candidate for Texas State Representative from District 64. Thanks for being here, Angela.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you having me over.
If you would please begin by telling our viewers something about your background.
Absolutely. So I am currently an adjunct professor at the University of North Texas. I teach in the Communication Studies Department. I'm teaching a couple of courses this semester for them in conflict management and a course in classical argument for the Honors College. UNT is actually my home college. It's where I did both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in communication studies over at UNT. So it's been great to get back over there because it's like going home. It's my
Conflict
studies
management.
family.
Well, I think that would be important in the State House.
I think so too. If there's a place for conflict, it is the State House. And
oh, it would be a miracle if you could do that in the State House.
Absolutely. Bring some of those skill sets down to Austin would be helpful for everyone,
right.
I think.
We need those skill sets. Angela, have you ever run for political office before?
I have never run myself. I have worked in politics for a while, so I've worked for other candidates and done some work for a couple of congressional races and also a state rep race out in San Angelo in West Texas. But this is my first time as a candidate.
Well, good for you for getting into the arena. That's great. We need more people to do that.
I have a background. Some of my earliest work, I worked on Capitol Hill right after college and then transitioned into civics education. So I was in Washington, D.C. for a few years teaching high school students lessons about civics and government and how to be an active citizen. And one of the things we always talk about is taking on that challenge of serving in public office as an important role for citizens. So I'm pretty thrilled to be stepping into their shoes right now.
And that's the greatest civic lesson in the world, to be in the arena itself and to see what it's like to run for office. All right, let me get started with things like, for those who may not know, what is the job of a state representative?
So state representatives in Texas have a really big job to do. It's one of the elected offices in our community that most impacts people in their day-to-day lives. I mean, there's a saying that the closer an elected official is to you, it's probably the people who are having the most impact on your life. So you look at your local school board and your local city council, and those are folks who are making changes and making policy about things that affect you in the day-to-day. I think the same thing is true about the state legislature, that folks who are serving in the State House of Representatives and in the State Senate are folks who are making policy that really affect your life in the day-to-day. So we're looking at things like education and the state legislature being our primary deciders about what's going on in our school systems. Also with higher education, so for my students at the university, it's actually one of the reasons I got into this race is because getting to know these college students and learning more about what it is they're dealing with in their lives on a day-to-day basis and realizing no one's being a voice for them. So things like higher education are really integral policy areas of the State House. Property tax and the way that we're taxed here in our state, because we have kind of an interesting and somewhat unique to the United States way of taxing our citizens in Texas. And so those decisions are made down in Austin. Those are some of the things that we work on in the state legislature.
And give us an idea, how many towns and cities are in 64,
Yeah, House District 64 is basically northwest Denton County, so it is the city of Denton, some of the lake cities on the north side of the lake, so it's Corinth and Hickory Creek and Shady Shores and Lake Dallas. It's also Crum, and then basically everything north of Highway 380 and west of 35. Lots of cows out there, but some small communities that we want to pay attention to.
So what are the most important issues facing the state of Texas, you think?
Whew, there are a lot, right? We could talk for hours about that, but I think the biggest issues bringing me to this race that make me want to serve in the legislature so that we can affect some real change, number one, healthcare. Everywhere I go, everyone I talk to has a story to tell about the difficulties of accessing healthcare, or even when there is access available, the difficulty of being able to pay for what is challenging families. And that, to me, is the number one task we have to take on in the next legislative session, is dealing with healthcare in this state, making it more accessible and more affordable for families. Just in my family, we're struggling to find quality care. My husband and I have a little boy. He's not quite 4 yet. He'll be 4 in November. And just getting insurance for him through the university, they provide my insurance, thankfully, but to cover him is $400 a month. which is crazy. He's a healthy little boy. He gets an
Yeah.
ear infection every once in a while, and he has a
Yeah.
checkup a couple times a year. But just getting access to health insurance for him in case there is an emergency, because he also likes to jump off of stuff. And I cringe every time I'm just
Oh,
viewing the
that's
trips to the emergency room. But just accessing affordable care, I think, is really an urgent issue in our community and in our state. Also these issues dealing with education. The legislature this past session took some steps, some really positive steps on education. I think the next legislative session needs to go even further. I really want to take a hard look at standardized testing and the importance that standardized testing has taken in our classrooms, in our K through 12 education, and back off of that. That preparing students to take a test well is not preparing them for life. And I think we really have to adjust the way we're centering curriculum around standardized testing and preparing students for that, and really refocus on centering students and teachers in the classroom and making sure that we're recognizing teachers as the professionals they are to do the job they need to do for those students.
Sure, other than healthcare, what could be more important than education?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, those are
Yeah.
the top two. And if that's
Yeah.
all we talked about in this campaign, I'd be perfectly happy. Because if we can help families on those two issues, we've helped immensely.
All right, let me kind of do a lightning round for a few other issues, just to make sure we get them in here.
Okay.
What is your position on the Second Amendment and
Yeah.
red flag laws?
Absolutely. I am a proud supporter of Moms Demand Action. I'm a volunteer for them. I believe that the Second Amendment is something we should respect for responsible, law-abiding gun owners. I think we have to focus on making sure folks who are responsible gun owners are being safe in their own homes, so that we don't see some of the really tragic deaths that we've seen in Fort Worth and nearby us in the last couple of weeks of little kids accidentally shooting themselves with unsecured weapons in houses. I do think we need to think about some sensible gun laws, though, and putting restrictions on some of the high-capacity magazines, putting restrictions on some of the rifles that are being used in mass shootings over and over again, and making some really smart choices to balance gun owner rights with safety and security within our communities.
All
That
right,
there
let
has
me-
to be a balance between
Let
those
me
two
move
things.
on to the building of the wall.
Yeah.
Are you for that?
I am not for that. I think we need a safe, secure border, that we have to regulate who is coming into our country and pay attention to who those folks are. But I don't think a physical wall on the border does anything to help us. I think that money would be much better spent looking at beefing up the amount of staff down on the border, making sure we have plenty of courts available for those who are seeking asylum, making sure that we're able to process people quickly through an immigration process or through an asylum process as they're coming through. We've seen, I don't know if you follow this on Twitter, but we've seen folks who are scaling the wall right now and posting the videos on Twitter. That I think this is just not a smart way to spend money. We could do it in a much smarter way.
Let me move on to quickly, what's your view on abortion in any trimester?
Yeah, I am a very proud pro-choice woman. I believe that healthcare decisions about family and growing family should be always left in the hands of women, their families, and their healthcare providers. The government has absolutely no role to play in these decisions that women are making for themselves and their health. I became a mom a bit later in my life. I had a baby when I was 41, and it took a long time for me to decide that was a good move for my family, for my husband and I to feel financially prepared to do that, to feel like we were in a place in our careers to do that, and that it was a choice that we made within our family to grow our family. I can't imagine the government coming in and making that decision for me. It's absolutely, I can't.
Let me quickly move on to the controversy over the tape that was made by Sullivan,
Yes.
John Quinn Sullivan, and Speaker Bonin. Do you believe that Bonin should resign his position?
I don't think Bonin should resign his position. I hope that the Democrats are going to take the Texas House and we're going to kick him out of the speakership anyway. So that is where I hope that's going.
By the way, that was Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Yes, Michael Quinn Sullivan and his.
And he made the tape
yes.
with Bonin. So
yes.
All right.
So I think that Bonin's district and the constituents of his district should decide what his future is in holding his seat in the Texas House. And I hope that we're going to retire him from the speakership by taking majority.
Well, the clock is grabbing us already, Angela. It went so fast.
Fast
Things are quick, but I think we got a lot of information in.
We
So,
did.
You do have a campaign website, and it's www.angelafortexas.com.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you, Angela, for jumping into the arena, and we need more people brave enough to do that. Thank you, and good luck in the election.
Thank you, and I appreciate you getting the word out for all of the candidates, no matter what their party is.
wanna make
That's
sure-
a great service.
It's important to make sure people know who's running and what their issues are. And thank you for watching.